My name is Jennifer Wyman. I teach 6th grade English, and we are reading novels and complex texts this year. The complex text we'll be reading today is an excerpt from Hobbes' moral philosophy and his political analysis. The Common Core specifically asks the students to take a complex text like they would get in college and understand the big essential questions. As you read, think, what is this guy really saying to us and why is it important?
Hobbes invites us to consider what life would be like in a state of nature, and that is a condition without government.
Today, we were taking the text of Hobbes and saying, how does this work? And how can we then meld that with our classroom text, which is the Hunger Games?
Hobbes has a lot to do with the Hunger Games because he and Suzanne Collins have very different opinions of what the government should be like.
I'm wondering if the government is forcing Hobbes to say this speech, like the Capitol is forcing the people from the other districts to do what they say.
So reading the Hunger Games in a vacuum is not as beneficial as taking Hobbes and analyzing the two together. Before we had the Common Core, we would say what is plot, what is setting, who's the main character. Now the idea is to have them be able to write, to speak, to even debate what they think is right and back it up with textual information, getting ready to stand up and say, this is what I think Hobbes is saying. What would Hobbes say to Katniss? That's what you're working on.
I, Hobbes, invite you to consider a life without government or authority. Don't rise up to the government. There will be chaos, and you might even get obliterated like District 13 in the book The Hunger Games.
So is it okay to break the rules in the name of an unfair government? Is it okay to rise up and say, I'm not doing this, this is unfair?
I think that Hobbes doesn't want her to have her own opinion and to just lay down and obey what she is told.
How many 6th graders are walking around saying, this is what Hobbes thinks? We're moving to higher order questioning, and we're actually asking them to analyze and synthesize with big ideas.
That's really what the Common Core standards are trying to provide. Critical analysis and conceptual understanding, not just summarizing and regurgitation of what they learned.
Hobbes thinks that government should rule and people should lay down, obey.
Suzanne Collins and Hobbes are really different in some ways, but in some ways they're not. So we find common ideas by really getting deep into it.
And maybe in your lives, you will have the chance to be like Katniss. Hopefully in a quiet, safe way, you could stand up and talk about Hobbes and say, I want to do the right thing. I think the Common Core takes real-life questions and asks them to respond. We're not just saying, what is the Hunger Games about? But we're saying, well, what do you think your government should be?